here this morning doing a sort of a series of God's purposed system. And I am doing this short video this morning just so I won't forget an encounter I had that's relative to GPS this morning. Now, we live out in the country in North Georgia in the mountains, and it's a beautiful scenario where we live. But the point of today is every day of our life, there's purpose. And God knows that purpose if we'll look and listen to what He's got to say. But we have to be able to hear that to understand it. But then I just love examples that God gives us of GPS. And this morning I was sitting at my desk and doing a little writing and just some meditating. But I love the animals we've got here on the property, and right outside the window I'm feeding birds and squirrels, and there was 2 cardinals and a dove and 2 turkeys there this morning. And then we've got a lot of deer, and we've got 7 bears that come by on a regular basis just to see what they can find to eat. But they're just beautiful to see. Now, most people say stay away from those bears, but I think they're beautiful because people all over the world go all over the world just to see a bear. And here in the Smoky Mountains and Appalachians, we've got a lot of bear, but you don't see them very often. But on basically an everyday basis, I've got a bear visitor. Yesterday we had 2 to visit, and this morning, well, we've got a young bear as one of those 7. But and it seems to be a little distraught. And I don't know if it was abandoned or what, but it just seems to be not as healthy as the others and this kind of thing. But I was sitting here this morning feeling low and lazy, just plain lazy. But I was hurting under my shoulder blades, and I really didn't want to get out and do anything. But I was sitting here, and I love to watch the animals as they come and eat. I'm looking out right now over the top of this phone at 1, 2, 3, 4 squirrels eating on a little knoll there, right where I can look at it, and it's fun to me. It's exciting. But I was sitting here this morning, and that GPS, that voice that speaks to us. And ladies and gentlemen, if you don't have that, if you don't hear it, you need to learn it. It is absolutely the most awesome thing that we've got in this life. And when you can really think that the God of the universe speaks to us. And I know, boy, there's some argument with that, but I know for a fact that He does. And if we'll let Him, He will direct our lives. Now, this morning, I've gone on a 173rd Airborne hat. I was a combat veteran in Vietnam, and I learned how important pulling point is. That's a military term, but that's when you're out in front of the troops, and your goal is to find the enemy. And if somebody's going to get shot at, it's you, so they don't kill the company. But in pulling point, it just taught me so much about life after the war zone, because every day there's something coming into our life. And if we don't have the means or the method to encounter that and then do what we need to do with it, and that's where God's purpose system comes into play. Because God's got a purpose for everything we do. And as minor as you think it is, it's purposed. And I'm going to give you a little illustration this morning because it just rung my bell. I was sitting here, and that voice said, you better get that food up there this morning because something's going to come and get it. And I thought, well, it's overcast, it's rainy, and one of the employees over at the cemetery drove up, and I thought to myself, well, they won't no animals come up while he's there. So I just sat there for a few minutes just being lazy. And just as that occurred, that little bear, the one I'm talking about, come walking up through the hedgerow right in front of me. It was probably 4, 5, 6, 8 yards out there. Walked right through that hedgerow right in front of my window and right up to where I would normally be feeding animals, mainly deer. But he walked up there and there was nothing there. And that little bear just kept on walking, but in my side of that, it was total disgust because that little bear obviously needed food this morning. And I know we shouldn't be feeding bear, but that's not what GPS said. It said go feed it. And I don't care what's going on, there's purpose in everything. So I sit there and watch that little bear walk away because something I didn't do that would have been easy for me to do and make a difference. Now, in our life, how many people do we meet that needs food, that needs that what God's got to make their day better? Because we all need love, and God is love. But ladies and gentlemen, I was talking about pulling point in Vietnam. God's pulling point in my life. It's called GPS, God's purpose system. And it's no different than the GPS in your car. And when that GPS in your car, if you've programmed it in and we want to go to Kansas City, it's going to tell us, well, get out here on 24 and go up there and then turn on 40. And we do that. We don't question it. Well, hear me, as an old combat veteran, when you put GPS in your system, when you install it, and you turn everything else down low and turn that up loud enough that you can hear it, it is amazing what God does for us on an everyday basis. Because I don't care if it's just a trip from here to town. When I get in that car, God, you're my GPS, keep me straight. And I can't tell you how many times in my life I know for a fact that God has protected, actually turned me around. I don't know how many times. Don't do that. But if you don't listen and you argue with him, but he gave me this morning that little sample or example of what it means just to be obedient, just to understand where you need to and how you go with that. And ladies and gentlemen, it's the most awesome thing in the world to know that the God of the universe knows this little old fat boy and understands, I love you. And if you listen, I'll direct you all the way to heaven. That's kind of as good as it gets, isn't it? Love you.